Thank you,
Rohit
Sadaf.
is the
Sorry.
Rohit is the chairman and CEO of FCB Group India. Under Rohit's leadership, the FCB has consistently been winning top honors at all the prestigious global creativity festivals for its stellar work. So now I will leave the stage to Rohit.
Thank you, Sadaf, and thank you to White Page, for this fantastic opportunity. I'm happy to share some perspectives on leadership with you. I'll just first try and see, just share my screen. So, essentially, what I wanted to talk about is really in these times, and we've heard so many people talk about it. Really about the challenging times that we're facing, and the paradigm shift that we're seeing across industries. Thanks to the current pandemic, but. The way I wanted to approach this was a little differently. Was really to talk about, so what is, from an organization perspective, the key thing that leaders need to demonstrate in this very, very challenging time. And I think trust is really the key, because when you look at this big pandemic, and this almost you know uh, possibility of organizations actually completely coming to a halt. What is it that sees the employees over this big hump? And that is really trust, because there is a trust deficit, because we've seen this through the first wave and the second wave. You didn't know who to trust because information was so disparate. You didn't know whether to trust even global health organizations. You didn't know whether to trust the politicians, the policymakers. You didn't know who to trust. And at that time, I think this whole trust deficit needed to be fulfilled by companies and their leaders. So trust really is the key. And you know the the ultimate measure of a man is not where he stands in moments of comfort and convenience, but where he stands at times of challenge and controversy. And that's what Martin Luther King said. It's true, and could not be more true at this particular time that we are all living in. So, where you stand is where trust begins, really. And that is the fundamental thing about leadership, is the stand that you take in an organization is really the fountainhead of trust. And that's where trust begins. And if you think about it, you know many companies have done many things during this particular phase, whether it is about giving them access to mental health, physical health, even providing them with medical facilities, doing vaccinations, etc. There's been a lot of activity there. But what is it that does that build trust? Is just being there for employees build trust? My submission is that's one of the aspects, but there are actually three pillars, in this period that really would help build that trust. And the first is actually strategic trust, because what the employees really need to understand and know, that the leaders know what to do, right? Because this was a period where there was so much uncertainty, and there was no playbook that you could actually say, okay, these are the things that I need to do in this kind of a crisis. It was a black swan event. Nobody really had an experience or knowledge or learning behind this. So the employees are really looking to leaders to say that, are you making the right choices, the right decisions? Do you have the competence to set the right course and allocate resources intelligently and help the company succeed? Because in the success of the company really was the foundation of this trust, that you knew that everything is kind of falling apart around me, but here is this company that I know will survive, right? And that is the first foundational piece on trust, and that's what where it all starts and builds. And this is the onus of leaders to actually come in and really talk about and reassure the employees about the fact that they know or at least they're doing their best in this kind of a challenging circumstance. And I think that is really, really important. The next piece is really about personal trust, and this is where companies kind of stand behind their employees and really help them over this big challenging time, where leaders treat the employees fairly. Do they consider employees' needs ahead of making decisions about business? Because here, this was a time when there was a lot of retrenchment, there was a lot of salary cuts, there was a lot happening there. And the thing is, if there is no personal trust, uh, employees kind of go into a kind of a seizure almost, and they're paralyzed, and there's no action really happening there. And that actually hurts the company more than anything else. So the idea was really about being open, being transparent, and making the calls in a way that people understand that in these times, this seems to be the best thing. And in this openness and transparency, the personal trust is really built. The last piece is really the organizational trust, and trust people, not just the individual but the company itself. And how are the processes designed? Are they consistent and fair? Does the company make good on its promises? Because that organizational trust, the ecosystem of your peers, your bosses, that whole piece is really, really important. And that is the third pillar of building this trust. So finally, trust doesn't come with a refill, and if it's gone, you probably won't get it back. And if you do, it'll never be the same, and that's the fact. Because the most important thing is, if the as we look back, maybe a year, 2 years, I don't know. But when we look back at this time, this is where true leadership actually emerges. It's trial by fire. So for me, in my company, I've actually seen leaders emerge, in this, because they've managed to instill trust. They've managed to, bring their teams together. They've managed to deliver for our clients, and they've managed to do some really fantastic work. So that foundation, and that's why I say trust is the key. Really, trust is the key to, in this crisis. That's the key leadership trait, and the key task that leaders really need to do is build that trust. And thank you for that.